my parents were music lovers. The first record I remember ever hearing was In the Court of the Crimson King.
Ah, your parents played that for
Yeah,
you?
my dad's record, you know, and
What was in his collection?
A lot of different genres. He loved Motown, everything from what he was growing up with, like Platters and that, through Fleetwood Mac to King Crimson and Rush, and he also had a lot of classical. I think his classical was through the window of film. A lot of these albums that were soundtracks that, it was like the Kubrick films would, you know, use the classical music. And then that was my introduction to John Williams and Bernard Herrmann.
How did you learn to conduct and orchestrate and do all of those if you weren't trained?
Right. Like everything that I played in terms of instruments, I observed and
self-taught.
Yeah,
everything?
Stood on the shoulders of giants. I mean, it was. I had videos growing up. I loved Leonard Bernstein, Herbert von Karajan. There's all these different conductors. Their styles that I really, John Williams, but like there were conductors specifically that Esa-Pekka Salonen that I would watch and at the time it was.
Did you take lessons anywhere or did you just follow along?
No, I read books about it, orchestration, harmony, counterpoint, all that. I just kind of, I found there was applying terminology to concepts that I kind of understood. Oh, that's what that is. Circle of fifths. Oh, wow. You know, I mean, all the things that, and then the beat patterns and conducting for me, since I was first a drummer, I had really, if I had one thing going, I had excellent separation of the limbs. You know, where I could kind of, and I did exercises too when I.
That's a good quote.
Yeah, I would, because I would do these things where I would do polyrhythms. And I'd also learn to play separate songs, right hand, left hand. I loved separation exercises. So the idea of doing a motion with the left hand and, you know, the metronome and the beat and the instructions with the right, it was a really cool duality. I was just fascinated by the fact that you could do two things at once that were completely different. And one was like, it's so right brain, left brain, literally with your hands. And the fact that you could bring music alive that you wrote without actually having an instrument in front of you. So once I started doing that at first though, I was terrified. I used a conductor on my first, you know, film that I did with an orchestra. And
but you wrote orchestral music and you wrote all the parts?
Right, I wrote all the parts. And in fact, the reason I even got this movie in the first place, there was a Requiem piece that I had written that was performed and it was heard. And so I was lucky enough to break that cycle of what do you have that's actually out there that we can hear without having done a movie yet. And that helped me. I had stuff that was with bands, but I had to convince them I can do the orchestral thing. In school, I was in the music department all the time. Those were my friends. I worked with local orchestras. I played percussion in orchestras. I played piano. I performed. All those things helped to get kind of this bedrock of having it. Then by the time I started doing movies and actually having an orchestra in front of me, I just thought, you know what, there are people better for this than I. And Chris Leonard's, our good pal, he conducted my first orchestral score.
Oh my God.
Believe it or not. I was like, okay, who are my buddies out here? Who's a conductor? Chris. So, but here's the thing. Chris had to leave in the middle of the session. There was a family emergency. I don't remember exactly what it was. He literally handed me the baton.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I bet you did great.
So, I did great. Well, for one thing, I was addicted immediately. There was no way Chris was getting back on that. You know, so the next movie is like, you know, I'm going to be conducting this, and forevermore I did. Once I learned, oh my gosh, I don't need to communicate to a conductor. This is what I meant with my piece. Can we do it a little bit differently? We just lost a take. I can, in the middle of the piece, feel violins are getting a little bit this way, or the cellos, and you can instantly do it. So, but the first piece that I conducted was absolutely, it could not have been a worse piece to conduct for my first piece. It was like 42 beats per minute and a waltz, which, you know, if you ever hold a baton, it exaggerates any nerves you have. The end is like, you know, shaking at a rate of which, so, and it's so slow, and the baton was, anyway.
But you learn.
I learned from that experience.
Now you're doing huge films, and you do TV, and you do games, and you do logos, and you do trailers. What are those worlds like? Is there commonality? Are they really distinct?
When you have a lot of different things going on, I think intuitively it seems like, wow, you know, what is going on in your mind? How can you keep it straight? But for me, I need it. I love writing in all these genres. I love switching up the genres. If I'm going from, you know, a movie that's a drama, a period piece drama that's really elegant and you have long sweeping melodies, it's actually nice to take a break and do something very driving that may be connected with hip hop or something like that. You know, I always say that my break or my vacation is just working on something else, because then it refreshes me. It's my you know, getting out of the world of which I was just living, and then I can come back to that feeling really refreshed.